We are going to wait for a second for the President to take her seat, so please remain silent for just a few minutes. Okay. We are very pleased to announce that our conference is growing. This year we've received 400 delegates, chairs, and advisors altogether, some coming from as far as the United States and Saudi Arabia. For this, we have to thank our sponsors who have made this conference possible. And also we would like to thank Dr. Anthony Specca for hosting the first ever Model Arctic Council in MU Bilbao. This is all very amazing and something to be really proud of, considering this is just our second conference. So a big thank you to all of you. We hope you enjoy your stay in Bilbao, that we'll have fruitful debates, and that we'll come up with great solutions. Also, do not forget to share your photos or whatever you like with us using our hashtag MUBilbao2018, so that you have something very great to remember. So, here we are, gathered with the future presidents and leaders of tomorrow who will protect, take care of our world, and make it a better place to live for future generations and living beings to come. Thank you. So now, without further ado, I declare this Model United Nations Bilbao 2018 open. Now we'll be hosting the ambassador speeches. I now yield the floor to the head of administration, who will say the letter chosen by the president herself for the first ambassador. Oh, and also she will read out the main rules of the conference and of the parliament.
The rules of the conference are these: no alcohol or smoking on school premises, no drugs, phone silence switched off during GA and committee, no eating during debate in committee, no chewing gum during GA or committee debate. Parliamentary rules: don't cross the line center when lining up for speeches. Line up next to the podium. Speeches will be done in terms of 5 in alphabetical order, starting from the letter T, as chosen by the President of the Parliament. When the opening ceremony is over, you choose the bus you go into the cocktail. All buses must be full so we can leave. After a cocktail, you must make sure you get in the correct bus to go to your hotels. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So the letter we'll be starting with is the letter T. So please, will the Ambassador of Thailand approach the podium? Es que no te oigo. Vale. Please begin.
President, Secretary General, honorable chairs, fellow delegates, distinguished guests, the delegation of Thailand is honored to be attending this conference. This delegate will inform you about our situation, which is similar to many countries here. Has any delegate thought about what could be happening back home while this conference is taking place? The majority of citizens in Thailand are suffering from discrimination and slavery, which includes human trafficking and prostitution. So maybe right now women are being raped. Thailand is an underdeveloped country that needs financial investments to encourage stronger and faster development. Coral bleaching is also a terrible problem, as is animal trafficking. What could we do to solve these problems? These delegates hoped for a favorable solution for these issues, so that little by little, the answer to this question would be more positive. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. From now on, we'll be calling the ambassadors in groups of 5. So will the ambassadors of Turkey, Uganda, Ukraine, United Kingdom, and the United States line up next to the podium? Also, there's no points of information to ambassadors. You may take the floor.
Ayalde und Iakshimla. Good evening. Honourable chairs and fellow delegates, it is a pleasure to represent Turkey here in Bilbao. Throughout our stay, we aim to work constructively with other like-minded delegations present. We are particularly concerned with the following issues: adequate access to food and water, which we believe is a global problem requiring global action; religious freedom as a fundamental human right, including the right of Muslim women to wear the hijab without discrimination; the potential deployment of weapons of mass destruction into outer space, which Turkey views as an immense threat to humanity; the cost of trade barriers and tariffs for countries with refugees in excess of 2% of their population to be reduced; and the bleaching of coral reefs due to rising sea temperatures and the need to artificially create more. We trust that many other delegations here will agree with our concerns and may have additional matters to add. My fellow delegates and I look forward to productive discussions with you.
Thank you, Delegate. The Ambassador of Uganda, please.
Infinite dilemmas, infinite strife, infinite opportunity. We stand more than 200 strong to debate such topics. Honorable chairs, esteemed guests, and distinguished delegates. It is about time that we coalesce as one entity, united towards one single goal, making the world a better place, not for the top 1%, not for one socioeconomic group, and not for the powerful and greedy, but for every single human being on our earth. Along these lines, the delegate of Uganda is committed to achieving this vision and resolving such complex matters, ranging from the crucial subject of global warming to enforcing women's rights in its entirety. No matter how much money it's going to cost or time it will take, we shall succeed. Thank you.
The Ambassador of Ukraine, please.
Honourable chairs, fellow delegates, Ukraine is delighted to be attending this 2018 Model United Nations Conference in Bilbao. Our world is currently plagued by some of the worst humanitarian and cultural crises since the establishment of the UN. However, Ukraine believes it is vital that we first address our own national issues before promoting peace among other states. Ukraine looks forward to constructive debate within all committees, particularly on the topics of modern slavery and the trafficking of international weaponry. We believe we can tackle the looming threat of terrorist attacks through stricter laws, heightened border security, and sufficient weaponry training for citizens, and hope that we can present and pass effective resolutions for these controversial and pressing issues. Thank you.
The delegate of the UK.
Secretary General, honorable chairs and fellow delegates, it's a great honor and pleasure to be invited to this long-expected conference and to be speaking as the ambassador representing the delegation of the United Kingdom. As the beaconing epicenter of culture, diversity and finance in the world, the delegation of the United Kingdom wants to express its devotion for solving globalized issues and for finding shared solutions. Entirely committed to the idea of promoting global sustainable development, we hope to act at every level to unlock access to a brighter future. To do so, we will need to focus on various urgent issues such as coordinating the efficiency of the economy on the international scene, and the United Kingdom will also have to keep up efforts on launching plans to fight against the loss of biodiversity, ecosystems, and finding alternatives to face the scheduled energetic transition. Furthermore, the United Kingdom will mark its participation in geopolitical conflicts and raise awareness on the detrimental tragedy on human trafficking and modern slavery. We steadfastly and unconditionally support an international cooperation and have faith that this conference will be stimulating and enriching for every single one of us. Thank you.
The delegate of the United States.
Good evening, fellow delegates, respected chairs, and honorable guests. As the Ambassador of the United States of America, I would like to take this opportunity on behalf of the rest of my delegation to welcome you all to Model United Nations 2018. The year 2017 has seen major changes in many global policies of the U.S., including its foreign policy. The central focus remains the success of its economy and welfare of its citizens. As highlighted by our President, Mr. Donald Trump, economic security is national security. The U.S. continues to attract highly skilled talent from all around the world in order to spur growth of its industries and promote innovations in every sector, while curbing the immigration of low-skilled workers at the cost of job opportunities for the local workforce. Globally, the existence and patronage of terrorism by a few countries continue to be a threat to world peace. In the last year, the U.S. had to deploy significant military forces and resources to fight terrorist groups like ISIS and Al-Qaeda in the Middle East. The U.S. also continues to support Saudi Arabia in its combat against growing terrorist influences in Yemen. Apart from this, North Korea poses a serious threat to the security of the U.S. due to the rapid rise in their ammunition stockpile. In summary, the U.S. has taken the lead in promoting global security and economic upliftment. With this in view, I wish everyone success over the next few days here in Bilbao, and let us all stand together to build a wall of unity, peace, and protection of the world. Thank you.
Okay. You may take your seats. Will the ambassadors of Uruguay, Venezuela, Yemen, Afghanistan, and the Minister of Ayalde International Association approach the podium? The Ambassador of Uruguay, please.
Honorable Chair, distinguished delegates, it's an honor for Uruguay to be at the Model United Nations Bilbao 2018. We have this conference who can provide peace and prosperity for the world. We are convinced everyone has the best intentions. For example, the Security Council thinks of itself as a defender of peace, security and human rights. We have achieved much of our goals, but nevertheless, not all is well. As we speak, over 3 million people are fleeing from their homes in Yemen due to intense fighting. Other world problems which are affecting us all, discrimination, modern slavery, global diseases like malaria and Zika virus, the question of greenhouse problem and the sea level which is rising. These are complex problems and need our undivided attention. This is the time to act. We don't want to close our eyes at the moment we are needed the most. We need to act now, today. It is the right thing to do. Uruguay wants to contribute to this conference and become a spark in the beginning of world peace and prosperity. I hereby yield the floor back to the Chair. Thank you.
the Ambassador of Venezuela.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the General Assembly, ladies and gentlemen. Dear delegates and Mr. Secretary General, it's a pleasure and honor to address you as the ambassador representing Venezuela. As you may know, Venezuela is a large country bordering Colombia, Guyana, and Brazil, famous for its beautiful landscapes, flora, and fauna. In this conference, the delegates of Venezuela will be participating in the Disarmament and International Security Committee, the Human Rights Committee, and the World Health Committee. We're looking forward to solving problems such as organ trafficking or the use of embryos in scientific research. During these days, we will be debating important topics for our nowadays society, which, with all of our efforts, can easily be solved. We hope that the present delegations will engage only to fruitful debates in order to make this conference productive and relevant. Let's work together. Let's work together for a better place to live in. Let's work together to reach further, to reach higher. Thank you for your kind attention.
The Ambassador of Yemen.
$14.7 million in need of aid. 14,000 children dead due to diarrhea and malnutrition each year. 50% of the population without access to food or water. Honorable Secretariat, esteemed chairs, and fellow delegates. With the advent of the Yemeni civil war, countless human rights violations have been committed right under our noses. Yemen is war-torn, battered, and chaos has run rampant in this once great nation. Yemen knows the repercussions of haphazard solutions firsthand. Yemen knows the consequence of silence in the face of injustice. Yemen knows that the time to act is now. As Martin Luther King Jr. once stated, our lives begin to end the day we become silent about the things that matter. And only together, as a group, as a collective, and as a united nation, will we be able to establish sustainable solutions that will benefit our world and our descendants to come. Thank you.
Before our next ambassador, will the ambassadors please take their seats? I apologize for the misunderstanding. You must go to your seats, the ones who have done their speech. Thank you. So without any more interruptions, the ambassador of, please don't cross the center line either, just go through the sides. Okay, so, sorry. The ambassador of Afghanistan, please.
Assalamu alaikum, Allahu Akbar, Subhanallah. May peace be upon you, Allah is the greatest, glory to Allah. The Ambassador of the Islamic Republic of Afghanistan greets you all full of hope and willingness, but also with a firm determination on some crucial matters. The Afghan people are one of the oldest nations in the world, making Afghanistan one of the first cradles of human culture. However, our country's last decades have been marked by political instability and social turmoil. We would like to thank those countries that have helped us rebuild our country. Nevertheless, Afghanistan is still a strong country, and it will remain unbowed, unbent, and unbroken, no matter the challenge we have to face. We will also protect our national interests, our tradition, our culture, and our religion. Get used to our voices in the World Health, Human Rights, ECOFIN, SOCHUM, and Disarmament committees, as we will raise them loud and clear. In these troubled times, filled with violence and hypocrisy, we need to find together a way to get to equality and justice, as the UN can either be a stairway to heaven or a highway to hell. The journey may be difficult, but with God as our guide, it will be safe. Thank you for your time.
You may take the floor, Minister.
Honourable Chairs, fellow delegates, the Ayalde International Association is honoured to be here this weekend to discuss some pressing issues. We believe that in major world issues, indigenous people are overlooked, yet often most affected. At this conference, we hope to give these people the recognition they deserve. We hope to best represent the Aleutian people as we work on the problems associated with climate change and education, as well as building new bridges with those with similar standpoints. Thank you.
will the ambassadors of Argentina, the Minister of Arctic Athabascan Council, Australia, Bangladesh, and Belarus please approach the podium? The Ambassador of Argentina, please.
Honorable chairs and fellow delegates, the delegation of Argentina is utterly pleased to be part of this conference to debate and hopefully solve major problems our world suffers from in the present day. As the Ambassador of Argentina, I found it important to talk about women's position in our societies. As time passes, Argentina finds here women have a relatively high level of equality, and they also enjoy incomparable levels of education. Furthermore, most Argentine women hold top posts in the Argentine corporate world. Although all the efforts that have been made for women's empowerment in society, domestic violence still remains a major problem. Sexual harassment and gender pay gap remain obstacles and hold back women's empowerment. We have to begin with baby steps, and these obstacles need to be extinct. We have to keep trying to empower women's society. Discrimination holds back our societies and creates a series of problems that need to stop. Time's up for all the women out there. The delegation of Argentina yields the floor to the chairs.
The Minister, please.
Netiki denki, kiels na sol na. Together we are stronger. Mrs. Secretary General, honorable chairs and fellow delegates, let me say that it's an honor to attend this ambient conference on behalf of the Arctic Athabascan Council in order to solve those issues lingering nowadays. This tribe would like to say that although we are few, around 45,000 inhabitants, we are great. We would be very pleased to see Mr. Trump or Mr. Kim Jong-un having to overcome such harsh conditions without their gold mansions, with all the technological advances found and to be found. In this conference, we would like to find solutions to climate change, something that affects us more than directly. But this is not our unique goal. Taking education to places of difficult access is for us a big challenge. Thank you for your attention.
The Ambassador of Australia.
President, Secretary General, honorable chairs, delegates, and distinguished guests. The delegate of Australia would like to encourage all the delegates present here today to answer this question. What would you like to change in the world? Maybe someone wants to change their car because this is old and a new one would not pollute as much. Or maybe someone wants to ask the town hall for some new traffic lights to regulate the traffic. Let us be more ambitious. What about sponsoring a child, or going to a less developed country as a volunteer to help, or empowering women in society as this is one of the Sustainable Development Goals? We all need to change something which will leave a positive footprint on this world. As we all know, the only way in which a society grows is acting, not just thinking. So let's join forces and work together to carry out our objectives. Let us make this conference count. Thank you.
The Ambassador of Bangladesh.
Honorable members of the table, representative delegates, and observers. The nation of Bangladesh would like to thank the President for granting the speech to Bangladesh delegation. Bangladesh believes that the eradication of poverty is possible with the aid of the United Nations and its institutions. The delegation wants to emphasize the dissatisfied extending due to the pronounced cases of race discrimination that have been produced. This is a huge international problem which will be discussed with an extreme emergency. It is high time world governments solve these global issues that affect ordinary life in underdeveloped countries. Finally, the delegation of Bangladesh would like to take this important opportunity to offer any aid this institution needs. Thank you.
The Ambassador of Belarus.
Trivitania. Hello and good evening, everybody. I am Venus Montesinos, the Ambassador for the Republic of Belarus. In this conference, we will be dealing with topics that are tremendously critical for Belarus. First of all, Belarus is deeply distraught with biodiversity loss. As Belarus, we will try our best to help our citizens transition into a healthier lifestyle in order to halt the threats damaging any natural ecosystems. Belarus is also involved with the serious topic of the use of biological weapons. We recognize that many countries use these weapons as a means of protection, but no one can deny that there are countries illegally using biological weapons. We hope that countries join us to be biological weapons free. Finally, on the topic of human rights, like Belarus, countries here have human rights issues. As Belarus, we will work our best to maintain human rights while keeping our economy strong. Belarus believes that if we all work together, our future will be bright. Thank you for your attention. Treba nač.
Will the ambassadors of Belgium, Canada, Czech Republic, China, and Colombia please approach the podium to host the speeches? The Ambassador of Belgium, you have the floor.
Honorable chairs, fellow delegates of the House, it's a pleasure and honor to address you as the Ambassador of Belgium. We would first like to focus on a highly concerned issue, which is the loss of biodiversity. Are we fully aware of the severeness of the issue of loss of biodiversity and what it actually means for our lives and the planet as a whole? All living species are dependent one upon the other, and the loss of one will affect us as the chain of life is disturbed. Belgium, having itself a rich biodiversity, is sensitive about the destruction of ecosystems and the loss of biodiversity. Thus, it has adopted the National Biodiversity Strategy and has... The delegate of Belgium hopes for a productive conference and calls upon all nations to give importance on these matters and work together to provide solutions for a sustainable future. Belgium yields the floor to the chairs.
The Ambassador of Canada, please.
President, Secretary General, honorable chairs, fellow delegates, distinguished guests, 19,000 children die each day from avoidable causes. 35% of women worldwide have suffered from physical and/or sexual violence, and approximately 21 million people are victims of forced labor around the world. We have improved these situations, even if it is unbelievable that these situations were even worse in the past. However, we cannot be discouraged by these high statistics. Albert Einstein once said, "The world is a dangerous place to live, but not because of the people who are evil, but because of the people who do not do anything about it." The delegate of Canada would like all nations to take 1 minute to consider what is their aim for the future, how they want the world to be in the day of tomorrow, and what can they do to achieve it. Because we have an opportunity here, and maybe this conference could provide the solution to some of our problems. Thank you.
The Ambassador of the Czech Republic.
Honorable chairs, fellow delegates, Secretary General, and distinguished guests. I'm Borja González, and it's a pleasure to be attending this Mun conference as the Ambassador of the Czech Republic. The Czech Republic is fully aware of all the problems that we have nowadays, such as the need for universal basic income, exclusion for the labor market, or floods due to the rising sea levels. Even if my country has taken measures to try to solve these problems, it is not enough yet. We have to work together to tackle them. My grandfather said once, "Think critically is the best way to reach an agreement," and that's why we are here in this committee, to think critically and reach the best agreements. Our delegation is willing to work hard, and we want to encourage all the delegates here to take part, because all joined together, we can shoot for the stars. Thank you for your attention.
The Ambassador of China, please.
Good evening, Mr. Secretary General, honorable chairs, fellow delegates. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here representing People's Republic of China. It is obviously undeniable that China has become one of the greatest countries in the world due to our strong communist government. China firmly believes that a more equitable distribution of financial power is in the best interest for the entire world, and will support resolutions that initiate this growth for the developing world. China considers that improvement of the international relations could be useful for the development of every country. That being said, China doesn't discard cooperating with other nations. However, international cooperation remains a secondary priority to our nation. And if collaborating with countries results in a conflict with China's national interests, all collaboration will be reconsidered. Thank you.
The Ambassador of Colombia.
Dear delegates, chairs, and distinguished guests, ever since its foundation in 1945, the UN has played a vital role in ensuring worldwide peace and has been a keen member in defending human rights and stimulating economic growth. Colombia has been part of it since its very beginning and will keep striving for the values the UN stands for. Today, we are faced with many problems, ranging from organ trafficking to trade barriers. However, Colombia believes that by working together and compromising, all nations can build a better future for our children and grandchildren to live in. We, united, can make this world better, and that all starts right here. So let's put our differences aside, for what we do here affects us all, regardless of gender, age, nationality, or income. Stand up for that utopia we all dream of. Thank you.
Will the ambassadors of the Democratic Republic of Congo, Denmark, Egypt, Estonia, and Ethiopia please host their speeches? The Ambassador of the Democratic Republic of Congo.
Secretary General, it's a pleasure and honor to address you as Ambassador of the Democratic Republic of Congo. As you may know, this democratic is a meeting country bordering South Sudan, Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, Zambia, and Central African Republic. It's one of the most punished violence areas of the African continent, which always generates poverty, hunger, and international distrust. There's no peace without justice. There's no development without trust. And the most important thing, there's no empowerment if we're not united. In this conference, delegates of Congo will be participating in the LETS, the social, cultural, humanitarian, human rights, and the world health. We will be debating important issues and topics that affect our society, even nowadays. Words need to speak louder than weapons. That's why we're here today, to solve our problems before they reach to higher scales. The delegation of Congo hopes that the present delegations will engage it in order to make it productive and joyful. Let's be united. Let's make our big hopes come true. Human needs get solved. Let's be humans, and let's make our world a peaceful and better place to live in. Thanks for your kindness and attention.
The Ambassador of Denmark.
President, Secretary General, honorable chairs, fellow delegates, distinguished guests. It's a pleasure and an honor to address you as the Ambassador of Denmark. Denmark has been an active member of the United Nations since 1945 and has been fully supportive of the objectives of the UN. Denmark is willing to cooperate with all countries in order to put an end to illegal trafficking of organs, considering that an estimated 10,000 black market transactions take place annually. Also of concern is the question of slavery. Although Denmark is low in the list of countries with a modern-day slavery problem, there are more than 700 people in the country considered slaves. This is unacceptable in today's modern world. Denmark is hopeful that by working together, acceptable solutions to these problems can be found during these coming days. Thank you for your attention.
The Ambassador of Egypt.
Honourable Chairs, esteemed delegates, it is an honour to represent Egypt at this annual conference here in Bilbao. Egypt wishes to tackle many significant issues through debates here. Firstly, we are greatly concerned by the role played by social media in allowing the spread of religious and racial hatred, particularly the rise of Islamophobia in Western societies. We are also greatly troubled by the prevalence of protectionist policies worldwide, which are withholding the benefits of free trade and most certainly hampering economic growth in developing countries. Egypt is particularly concerned with the lack of democratic progress in Yemen, where the ensuing conflict has caused multiple deaths and inflicted widespread poverty. Egypt would like to see much stricter regulations imposed on social media firms as an immediate solution to the issues surrounding the spread of religious intolerance. Rapid and assertive action is certainly what is needed to resolve this increasingly problematic manner. We would also like to ensure that developing countries are able to fully make use of their exports by reducing trade barriers extensively. Egypt hopes that this conference will result in constructive, appropriate and effective resolution of many vital issues. Thank you, Honourable Chairs and esteemed delegates.
The Ambassador of Estonia.
Honourable Table, representative companions, the government of Estonia extends a cordial greeting to the present delegates, being grateful to them for his constant labour treating these topics of urgency for my country and for the entire world. We must remember the urgency of proposing new solutions to the serious and urgent problems of the humanity, which persist here and now. Some of the most important topics to deal with today for Estonia are the economic development of his country, that possesses a commercial negative scale for at least a decade, and the problem of women's empowerment, since Estonia is a country of the European Union with the highest salary difference between men and women. Is it time for both governments and ourselves to become aware of putting an end to these problems, which we face nowadays and which impede the development of our countries? Thank you.
The Ambassador of Ethiopia.
Esteemed Secretary General, honorable chairs and fellow delegates, dear guests, it is a great pleasure for Ethiopia to be present today. As you may know, the government of Ethiopia has been an active participant in the United Nations for many years. We have contributed to the UN's goals of international peace and focus as it currently pertains to social and economic issues, along maintaining security and peace worldwide. In addition, the United Nations Development Programme Ethiopia aims to promote crisis prevention and recovery, sustainability and democratic governance. We have also sustained different agencies and organizations to accomplish growth and poverty reduction, climate and environment issues, and gender equality. We believe that information are the keys and education are the keys for the solution of many problems. Hunger and disease can be fought by knowing your enemy. All member states need to cooperate to achieve peace and gender equality, to end famine and the destruction of the environment. Ethiopia hopes this conference will produce effective resolutions for the many topics that we have to discuss. Thank you for your attention.
Will the ambassadors of France, Germany, Greece, Hungary, and the Minister of Language in Council International please take the floor to host their speeches?
Good evening.
Sorry. The Ambassador of France, please.
Good evening. I am the Ambassador of France, here to discuss a problem that has been affecting France for some time. Currently, France is in a state of unemployment, in which the rate is 10%, which is considerably higher than the Europe average, which stands at 7.3%. And it is a disgrace that the most influential polling country in the EU has these kinds of numbers. And France is doing changes, like improving infrastructure and improving public services, but it's just not enough. See, France is paying too much to the UN and getting barely anything in return. And we all know it's very important to pay to the UN, but we also have something in return. And it's also important to help with the developing countries and our old colonies, but we can't if we can't help ourselves. Thank you for your time.
The Ambassador of Germany.
Secretary General, honorable chairs, fellow delegates, distinguished guests, and advisors, the German delegation is honored to be attending this conference. It's a pleasure to address you as the ambassador representing Germany. Germany is a key member of the continent's economic, political, and defense organizations, and it has been a member of the United Nations since 1990. The delegation of Germany recalls to all members of the UN to change our world, and as we say in Germany, wie man in den Wald hineindrauf, so shall es heraus, which means that if we don't do anything for our home, we will kill it. No more poverty, no more violence, women having equal rights, healthier environment, and a better education for every child. That is what our countries need, and those are the goals they are asking for. Thank you. Have a great Model United Nations Conference.
The Ambassador of Greece, please.
President, Secretary General, Honorable Chair, distinguished delegates, what if I was to tell you that before this speech is over, 15 innocent people would have been killed for their religious beliefs? What if you knew that before this conference has finished, 28 children will have been insulted for no other reason than their skin color? We all should stand up and say, I will not let that happen. I want to be the change this world is waiting for. Because that is what the delegation of Greece urged the world to keep in mind. Our society needs a change. But who is going to provide it if it's not us, the generation of the future? We should not want to be a discriminatory, intolerant, and hate-motivated society. We should not want to be part of a community which looks at racial diversity as a weakness. We should aim to live in a cooperative, strong, and faithful community. One may ask themselves, how do you start? The answer is simple, right here, right now.
The Minister of which in Council International, please.
There are groups of people that we often forget. Groups of people who settled the first lands. And regrettably, these groups of people continue to get treated with disrespect in this day and age. Good evening, Honorable Chairs, Secretariat, and other MUN executives. This is why the Gwich'in Council International is elated to participate in this forum. Most of you have figured out that the people I'm referring to are the indigenous peoples across the world. We come together in these conferences and meetings not to pretend like we are in the United Nations. We come in these conferences and meetings and these forums to model what the United Nations should be like. Because as the President told us, we are the future. Throughout this conference, the Gwich'in Council hopes to work hard with fellow Arctic states in order to combat topics like climate change and education in the Arctic. We do this to make sure that everybody feels respected, to make sure that everybody in this world has a place, and to show large oil corporations that human life and culture is bigger than money. Thank you. The Minister of Gwich'in Council International yields the floor to the Secretary.
The Ambassador of Hungary, please.
Sia, and good evening to my fellow delegates and to the Honourable Chair. It is a pleasure and an honour for the delegation of the Republic of Hungary to be able to take part in this prestigious conference held in a beautiful accommodation. The Republic of Hungary is a beautiful country with a population of almost 10 million people. Hungary is located in the center of Europe. The capital Budapest is a leading global city and recognized by many as the cultural heart of Europe. Despite its beauty, Hungary still has some enormous problems in society, especially the use of alcohol and drugs and the still very prominent wage gap. We are looking forward to some interesting and productive debates and are keen to hear some very interesting and great ideas from our fellow delegates. Thank you very much.
Will the ambassadors of Iceland, India, Iraq, Italy, and the Minister of Inuit Circumpolar Council please take the floor? The Ambassador of Iceland, please.
Esteemed delegates, honorable chairs, it is a pleasure and honor to address you as the ambassador, representing the state of Iceland. Since the year 2000, poverty, as measured by living on less than $1.25 a day, has halved. Even with the positive changes that have taken place, there are certain issues that must be approached in order to achieve the UN's goals for a better world. There are various economic, social, and environmental topics that must be resolved. The UN should not prioritize any of these topics more than any other, because in today's world, economists are just as important as scientists, who at the same time are just as important as teachers or politicians or doctors. The message this delegation wants to give the rest of the countries present is that the world cannot progress unless absolutely everybody works towards a common better future. The delegation of Iceland firmly believes that with the collaboration from every state present here, the matters named above can be efficiently solved. Thank you very much. Muchas gracias a todos.
The Ambassador of India.
Honorable chairs and fellow delegates, it is an honor to address you as the Ambassador of India. The Republic of India is also pleased to form part of this event. Nothing is more powerful than words, and this power should be used to build bridges between civilizations and create a way to the future. With more than 1 billion citizens, almost the 18% of the world's population, India is a reflection of over 5,000 years of interaction and exchange across a wide spectrum of cultures and civilizations. A land of contrasts, it is also one that can become a superpower. It is known that if India continues its recent growth, it will be the 5th largest consumer economy by 2025. The Republic of India is looking forward into working with all nations in order to build a better future together. Thanks for your kind attention and good evening.
The Minister of the Inward Synchropolar Council, please. The Minister.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm grateful to be able to represent the Inuit Circumpolar Council at this MUN meeting. So what about the Inuits? They are the biggest indigenous Arctic tribe after the Russian indigenous people. And there are also 160,000 Inuits, which are majorly settled in Greenland. However, Inuits are very peaceful, but do have to confront extreme situations which are not fair or are not equalized to everybody else's situations. They are capable of living at minus 40 degrees Celsius. And sometimes they have to travel to places like schools in which to be able to get there, they have to go through freezing rivers and walk 4 kilometers. So here's my questions. Do you think this is equal? Do you have to go to school walking 4 kilometers at minus 40 degrees Celsius? Well, I think that we should solve this. Thank you.
The Ambassador of Iraq.
Honorable chairs, fellow delegates, and distinguished guests. One feels proud to represent Iraq. One is sure he doesn't have to give many explanations about how his country is, because actually almost everyone has entered it, in this case in order to conquer it, twice. However, we are strong. We have the blessing of Allah, and we are not alone. Iraq is still a powerful country in the Middle East, a connection between 2 continents, and a conservative Muslim power. In different committees, we will follow our beliefs, which are religion, ethics, justice, tradition, and prosperity. All of them containing the Quran and Sharia. If you want to talk to my country in a commanding tone, forget it. If we want to hear a sermon, we will go to the mosque. If we want to hear poetry, we will go to the theater. We are here to make a difference. We understand what the United Nations are. We know which values have. We haven't considered what have been made for, but we don't accept it. We don't like to follow the countries who believe themselves as superiors because they have more money or because they have entered in more wars. We see how you are losing 2 values, the war without weapons that is being fought underground in the economy, or how you try to dynamite the societies which aren't like you. This place stinks to hypocrisy, false democracy, and thirst of power. But that's what we are here for. We are your redeemers. We are the word of Allah. Thank you.
The Ambassador of Italy.
Secretary General, honorable chairs, fellow delegates, and distinguished guests. The Delegation of Italy is delighted to have the opportunity to take part in this conference, to debate and hopefully solve major problems our world suffers in the present day. We would first like to express our interest in the issue concerning modern slavery, which has always been of a huge importance for our country. The Delegation of Italy is fully concerned that there are more people in slavery today than any other time in history. And even though we are not deeply affected by this, we will do our utmost to find reasonable solutions. To conclude, from the Security Council, we are willing to do our best to dissolve conflicts in Yemen. We are looking forward to work in global cooperation to achieve this goal. The Delegation of Italy has faith that this conference will be fruitful, and we hope that you have a great conference. And as we say in Italy, buona conferenza!
The ambassadors of Japan, Jordan, Kazakhstan, Kenya, and the DPRK, please approach the podium. The ambassador of Japan, please.
Honorable chairs and fellow delegates, konnichiwa. It is a pleasure to address you all as the ambassador representing Japan. The government of Japan has long been an avid participant in the United Nations for many years and long emphasized the development of human rights. Our country is rich with culture and rapidly growing, yet we are not free from the problems that plague us. It is imperative that we address the issues surrounding the question of modern slavery, adequate access to food and water, floods due to the rising sea levels, biological weapons, and much more. Japan is actively taking steps that would ameliorate these problems and hope that you all would join us. We strongly believe that the next few days of conference can produce successful results. We are hopeful for constructive and respectful debate in order to resolve the issues at hand. Good luck with your deliberations this week, and thank you for your attention, or as we say in Japan, arigato.
The ambassador of Jordan.
Honorable chairs, fellow delegates, the delegation of Jordan would like to talk about one of the biggest problems our world faces today, refugees. Jordan has the second highest number of refugees in the world, with 89 per 1,000 inhabitants. Being the first in healthcare and educational system, Jordan provides education and medical care to refugees for free. As for the way people behave to refugees, Jordan condemns any kind of discrimination and is a strong advocate of the Week of Harmony, a week when all religions celebrate together in order to raise awareness about the rights and freedoms every person should have. But let's move to the number one factor that leads to refugees: war. Jordan has been a member of all treaties, pan-Arabic or international, which aim at the maintenance of peace. Furthermore, Jordan has established excellent relationships with all countries. So, we have two messages for you. First, we are here to become peacemakers and not peace breakers. And second, refugees welcome. Thank you.
The ambassador of Kazakhstan, please.
Honorable delegates, distinguished guests and advisors. Looking at the current state of the international community, Kazakhstan sees a world that is deeply divided. Ignorance is taking the place of understanding. Tensions are rising while communication is fading and talking is being replaced by threatening. And that while conflicts are heating, temperatures are rising, Yemen is going up in ashes, and we can only blush this fire together. No matter if it's about the Yemeni conflict, equal division of unpolluted water, or biological weapons, Kazakhstan is willing to utilize its strategical geographic situation in order to be a connecting factor between the north, the south, the east, and the west. In order to overcome this expanding distance between our nations, we must tear down walls and build bridges. And these bridges can only be constructed by focusing on what unites us and not on what divides us. Thank you.
The ambassador of Kenya.
Honorable President, Secretary General, chairs,
delegates, distinguished guests, it's a pleasure and honor for Kenya to attend this MUN conference once again. Kenya, as part of the UN since 1963 and populated by 48 million of Kenyans, is fully concerned of the thousands of problems happening nowadays in and out of our borders. Kenya does not want to be impartial to all these issues, terrible issues happening currently. Actually, it wants to participate in the conference to give solutions to all these problems. It's time for us to join our forces and fight against famine, malaria, the loss of biodiversity, or racial and religious discrimination, because each and every human being deserves the best. Delegates, we are the change we want to see in the world. If we do not do it, who's going to do it for us? Let's start now. Thank you for your time.
The Ambassador of DPRK. Honorable chairs, esteemed delegates, as the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, this country has been frowned upon by all of the countries present within this room. This delegation is present before you to bring these false accusations that have clouded many judgments to a halt. Since essentially what we are here for is to share our views on diverse aspects in current affairs, as well as evaluating multiple theories from different countries and putting ourselves in their own shoes. The DPRK has been on the bad list for a long time, for many reasons. Firstly, it has been accused of lack of liberty of expression, when actually our citizens are free as long as they do not harm the motherland. And secondly, there is a large distrust in the DPRK's missile program, when the truth is, it is not harmful unless we're giving a reason, since it is merely a method of protection against other proliferating programs such as the USA. We will value with closer attention the issues regarding nuclear disarmament and health, since these topics show our strengths and weaknesses, which will enable us to keep on growing. This delegation is looking forward to engaging in practical and effective disputes with any country, even the USA, as long as the DPRK is not denied triumph. Thank you. The ambassadors of Malaysia, Mexico, Nepal, Netherlands, New Zealand, please line up next to the podium.